Having a successful debut album is a bittersweet thing for a lot of artists. For one thing, your debut was great. You didn't suck, hooray. But on the other hand, that means your next album had better be able to at least meet the bar that's been set, if not even completely surpass it. So, with that said, does Lauren Daigle's second album, Look Up Child, meet expectations, surpass them, or fall short? Well, let's find out. Look Up Child was put out in 2018, late 2018 actually, by Centricity Music. There is a total of 13 tracks on this, so more than what the original album for How Can It Be was, but less than the deluxe version of that album. So let's start off with Still Rolling Stones, and if you're like me, you thought or were at least curious, is this somehow like a tribute to the legendary yet highly overrated rock and roll band Rolling Stones? Well, no, it's not that at all. But it's an excellent play on words, so great job suckering us in. It's a soul pop kind of a song. It's really one of two songs on this album that are any sort of moderately fast. The song is a testimony that Jesus rescued the singer from death. She's talks about things like how she did all of this to herself. She was almost dead, but then in the chorus she comes alive. Assumingly because of Jesus and everything, she comes alive in the chorus, and all these things are different now. So it's a really good song. It's unique in its style as compared to the rest of the album, in my opinion. I really like this song. Track 2 is Rescue, and this is a slow, I believe, 6/8 ballad. It's mostly soft sections with some dramatic climaxes in various spots, mostly in the chorus, I believe. It's from the point of view of God singing to the listener, promising that no matter what, he'll rescue us in our darkest moments. And while this is certainly a true message, the song unfortunately doesn't have the time to get into or explain why it's not always how we expect. In other words, God will rescue us, yes, but it's not always the way that we picture he will do it. And I think that can be a very, very important lesson, but unfortunately the song does not have time to get into it. I have a little bit of a nitpick with this song. This is my personal opinion, but I don't like the full harmonizing going on with the backup choirs. I think the backup choirs work in certain spots, and I think if they had changed it maybe to some humming or even oohing possibly, but mostly humming, I think it would have sounded a little bit better, because I think this song needed to be carried by Lauren's vocals more, like solo more, as opposed to having a bunch of background singers. And that's my personal opinion, and it kind of and it's further emphasized. Like, if you ever, I've heard this song in a grocery store once when I was shopping, and it really is a problem when, I mean, granted, this is because of the distortion of the, PA radio and everything, but I swear, it sounds sometimes like there's a lot of whining involved. Like, it gets to the chorus when the backup choir comes in with Lauren, and it sounds like, I, where? It's just so, oh God, it's not as noticeable on the actual track when you're just casually listening, but it still kind of sort of comes across as that. And so even though it's a good song, that's a real big nitpick on my part, but that's just how I feel. Anyway, moving on. Track 3 is This Girl, and I don't really know how to classify this song. It's pop, it's got a little bit of soul, almost kind of sounds like a old lounge singing in a way. It's like Rescue in the fact that it's mostly soft, but this time the climax is really found in the bridge and not in the chorus. There's this really nice run that Lauren does, whereas in the chorus when she's singing this girl ain't going anywhere, that's kind of nice to hear, because I've heard some mainstream artists do stuff like that, and that's some real nice musicality and showing off of vocals doing that. So this girl, obviously, so this is really not a song for guys. This girl is singing of this prodigal-like journey that she's been on, which is resolved with her knowing that she won't leave who she's singing to again. Now, You assume because it's Lauren Daigle that it's God, but this could also be like a guy that she's been involved with or something too. But I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be God. Anyway, that's pretty much the gist of the song. Track 4 is Your Wings, and it starts off soft and then it goes into this Caribbean reggae kind of feel, which is really something different as far as Lauren's resume is concerned, and it's a nice experiment. Singer basks in being under the protection of God, uses metaphors like armor and shelter or different stuff like that, and that's pretty much all there is to it. If you want different musical variety with Lauren, which we, or anybody for that matter, we all want some variety kind of thrown in here and there, then this is the song for you. Me personally, I think it's good, but not great. The next song, however, track 5, is most certainly great. This is You Say, and I'm sure probably going into this is the song that you're probably wanting me to talk about. It's very famous by this point. I wish I could have reviewed this album when it came out, but life got in the way because this is one of those songs that I would have loved to have talked about right fresh when it came out. It's a slow, it's not painfully slow, but it's a slow ballad. And the singer is singing to God about how she views herself and combating how she views herself with truth about how God views her. The only nitpick I really have with this song, and this comes from being a drummer, is it needs some more involved drums and even just some general more instrumentation in the final chorus to really kind of help build the transformation of the singer through the song. I think it would have been nice, but instead the drums feel very programmed, like just used a basic drum machine patch or something, and it's fine for the second chorus, but it gets really boring by the end. But as far as the song itself, this is an absolutely fantastic message. I'll probably gush more about it when I get to my favorites, why I like this song so much, but this is bar none the best song on the album. You should listen to it if you have not listened to it already. Track 6 is Everything, and I described this as a slow pop ballad with a little bit of a worship feel to it. The drums are essential in this to help keep it from dragging, because otherwise I swear this song would sound so tedious. Like, I have a former worship pastor of mine who would probably have loved this song just because of that dragginess, whatever. He was weird like that, but so if you're into that sort of thing, then this is an absolutely perfect song for you. But otherwise, the message is the singer sings of God's amazingness and how he provides for her needs. To me, this song is kind of missing this dynamic of having some energy. Like, I mean, I understand it's supposed to be a little bit of a somber, or not somber, but maybe more of a humble kind of tone to it. But I would have liked, maybe a little bit more energy in the delivery, if at all possible. And a great example of what I'm talking about is found in the next track, which is Love Like This. It's another slow ballad, unfortunately. You're starting to notice a pattern that there's a lot of slow ballads, and I'm going to talk about that later. The verses in this one are talking about a relationship that the singer has with God, and it all culminates in the question of the chorus. The question being, "What have I done to deserve love like this?" And I got to be honest, I love how Lauren sings this song. It's just all of the emotion, the energy, the passion that's found in this her delivery is just absolutely perfect. I love this song, and more importantly, I love how she sings it. Track 8 is Look Up Child, and this is the other song on the album that is got a moderately fast sort of thing going on. At least it feels that way. It's a pop song that is really dictated by this rhythmic groove that is going on, and it's just a really simple drum pattern patch thing that they've got going on. The singer appears to be going through dark times or some kind of rough times or whatever. It's either that or is just observing the world around her, whichever it is. And in the midst of all of it, wondering where God is. And then his response is found, like she starts to allude she says, "I hear you say," and then his response is the title of the song, "Look Up Child." I know for a lot of people, this is one of their favorites off of the album. I read the review for this on Jesus Freak Hideout, and the guy who did the main review for it said that this was the best song on the album. I completely disagree, but I do have a little bit more of respect for this song than I originally did. First couple times I heard it, I just was kind of like, yeah, it's okay, but I have a little bit more of respect for this song now. It's not one of my favorites or anything, but I'm not, I mean, I don't know that I would have, I don't think it's worthy enough to be a title track, but it is still a very good song, and I can understand why people really enjoy this song. But enough about that. Track 9 is "Losing My Religion." So this is it's a pop song, but it's not a ballad. It's not a ballad like the other ones, but the tempo is not fast, so it sounds like it's not really distinguishing itself enough, but in a way it is. And one other musical set piece to go along with this is that the guitar on beats 2 and 4 of every measure is hitting this note, whatever the note is, and it's not a reggae style, but it reminds me of the reggae style with how with what is going on there. So that's kind of neat. The singer is shedding her fakeness, as I call it, or her acting, in her desire for a more intimate relationship with God. In other words, she describes herself in the verses as being like on this stage, being a masquerade. So she probably would not be a fan of Phantom of the Opera, which is unfortunate. That is a fantastic musical, but anyway, I digress. She doesn't want to be an actor anymore. She doesn't want to go through the motions. She doesn't want to be a Christian on the outside. She wants an actual intimate relationship with God more than anything else in this world, and that's really what the song is about. So yeah, pretty good song. I know a lot of people that really like this song too, and it's worth listening to. Any song that talks about losing religion in place of relationship is really good, and really, if you psychoanalyze it a little bit more, the relationship itself really is your religion. But that's a whole other video. Track 10 is "Remember," and to me, the best way I can describe this song is it sounds a lot like "Love Like This." Although it's not quite as good, it is still a very good song. It is a little bit of a faster tempo too, which is something that can help differentiate the two. So basically the gist of this is when life proves to be overwhelming, the singer remembers God's faithfulness. So a message that's kind of found in various spots throughout the album already, but it's still a very good message to listen to. Track 11 is "Rebel Heart," and this is a very intimate kind of ballad. It's all piano and strings. There's some really good composition here. This is not one of my favorite songs on the album, but I have to compliment the composition behind all the music. The choir actually really works well here. I love the little things to kind of help keep it from being boring. Just the like there's this rhythmic thing that's all done in unison where it goes like do 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 do, and that's just adding little music things like that is just so important to keep a song from being stale, and it sounds really nice. So the singer, who has resisted for so long, surrenders herself to God, basically, is the gist of the message, and it's a very good song. Track 12 is "Inevitable," and I've read the YouTube comments on this song. This is a really short song. It's under 3 minutes. I've read the YouTube comments for the official audio video of this song, and the comments section say that they love it and everything, and it's a fine song. But to me, this song is kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of things. It's a piano-only ballad. It's a similar message to the likes of "Remember" and "Rescue." Basically, as the singer struggles with unbelief, she strives to remember that God will carry her through the midst of her storms or whatever. It's good, but it's just not something that I would consider in the best of lineup. And the final track is Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus, which anybody who's been in church long enough will know this hymn. And it's a very beautiful, different arrangement of this hymn. The opening makes you think it's going to start to be like intimate with some smooth jazz even, which is, I was like, wow, this is going to sound really nice. And then all of a sudden it hits you with a moderate tempoed gospel soul song or whatever. It's quite the contrast just suddenly spring upon you, and it sounds fine for what it is. I just would have liked to have heard a little bit more of the smooth jazz guy, because I'm a sucker for some smooth jazz. But but even what it turns into, it sounds fine. It's a very different rendition of the song, like I said, and it's very nice. And in case you've never heard the song before, it calls for us to turn to Jesus, especially during times of trouble. But it's also a general call just to turn to Jesus anyway, because, that is the gospel message. Well, partially, but you get the idea of what I'm trying to say. And that is all of the tracks. So, does Lauren avoid the sophomore slump in this one? Yes, I think so. This is a really good follow-up. I don't think it's as good as How Can It Be as a whole, but Look Up Child does do some great things. It adds more depth to Lauren's voice, specifically to the soul category. She adds some, adding that soul to the list of other things that she can do in her voice, in her voice resume. Just, that's only good things for the future. I know there's a lot of critics that have been comparing her to Adele and saying that she's trying to be Adele and everything. Personally, if that's just how her voice came out and that's just how she sings the song, then that's what it is. I mean, I certainly don't think it was necessarily Lauren's intent to try to copy Adele's style, because if you listen to How Can It Be, the album, I don't hear her trying to copy Adele's style and How Can It Be at all. So if that was just the song direction in this overall just kind of seemed to be similar. Maybe it was a little bit intentional. I don't know, but I tend to believe that she probably didn't have Adele in mind when writing these songs. She just wrote the songs based on how God was leading her to write the songs, if I had to guess. The album is filled with great lyrics and messages, carrying a lot of hope and encouragement. But where the album falls flat is its musical diversity. The soul elements and the attempt at the reggae song are nice, but there are just way, way too many ballads in this, and that's the universally biggest complaint about this album. Ballads are a strength for Lauren. She sings ballads very well, but she's also good at songs with faster tempos. Where are my songs like Trust in You or Come Alive or Oh Lord? We get a little bit of that kind of style in Still Rolling Stones, but that's really about it. And those songs that from the first album that I mentioned are really good songs, and there's just none of that present in this album. And I just, if it's a shame to have that stuff missing, because those songs were just fantastic. And I feel like if this album would have had a little bit, at least like 2 songs of that kind to go along with all the ballads, I think people would probably complain a little bit less. But that having been said, though, I do like a lot of the background music. The choir is generally welcome because it's not just present in the songs that I mentioned. The choir appears in You Say. The choir appears in various spots throughout the album, and it's does really well. All the string stuff is really nice. Lauren's voice gives a strong performance throughout the album, and you know what, if people are going to compare how she sounds this time to Adele, then I think that's a huge compliment, because Adele has been so critically acclaimed recently. When you hear the two next to each other, yeah, they do have similar voices, but they, you can't really do anything about that. If that's how you sing, if that's how you sound when you sing, it's just, it's no different than two people who look alike. It's not really anything you can do about it. So I don't think that's a really fair criticism on Lauren Daigle's part, or for anybody who tries to criticize Lauren Daigle for that. I would say each song individually carries its own merit, but when this album is played straight through, it can be a little draining. Like I said, because of the aforementioned endless streak of ballads. So I'm going to give this a 4.1 out of 5. My favorites. You Say, of course, is my ultra favorite off of this album. You Say is a great song. It's one of those songs that I can see in about 10 years from now, if there's a story behind it, the Irwin brothers will probably add it to their series of movie songs we're going to turn into movies because they're so critically acclaimed or whatever. But however, I am going to make the controversial statement that for as great of a song as You Say is, and it will probably go down in history as Lauren Daigle's most famous popular song or whatever, I am going to make the statement that it's not her best song as of the time of this recording. I'm going to say that her best song is How Can It Be? And I'm not going to go into detail why, because this video will go on way too long, but if you want me to make an extra video of why I think How Can It Be is a better song than You Say, then please leave a comment about it and cast your vote, if you will. But yeah, You Say, I think as of this point, You Say is her second best song in my opinion. My other favorites from this, Love Like This, absolutely fantastic song. I love the chorus. As simple as it is, it's just so great. Still Rolling Stones. I appreciate this song for its uniqueness. I love how it sounds. I mean, and unfortunately I had to look up the lyrics to really kind of fully understand what was being sung, but it's still a great song nonetheless. And I'm gonna go ahead and include this in my favorites, Rescue. But I'm putting this as the last of my favorites because, again, I have my little nitpicks about the song, but I would be a fool not to recognize just how good the song is overall. I mean, regardless, the lyrics are absolutely amazing. And then, whatever my nitpicks about the song, overall, it's just put together really well. And that's my favorites. I also recommend the song Remember, because even though it's not as good as Love Like This, it is still a very good song and has that energy, passion, singing behind it that I like in Love Like This. Remember has that as well. And I wasn't originally going to put this in any recommendation, but this most recent listening of the album, I'm going to go ahead and include Look Up Child in my also recommends because, Look Up Child, again, has some, it has some uniqueness, but I mean, you could say, well, Your Wings has uniqueness too because it's reggae. Well, this just has something more to it. I mean, just between the groove, the excellent lyrics, it just has something more that I can recommend to people. And so yeah, and I know a lot of people like this song, so that's why I'm going to go ahead and recommend that you take a listen to it. Again, the whole album A to B is really good. It's not as good as the first one, but those are the tracks that I recommend more than any of the other ones. But you should still listen to the whole album. Anyway, I'm starting to run a little late here in this video, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you guys very much for listening. If you have an album that you would like for me to review, please leave a comment requesting it, and I'll see if I can't fit it into the rotation. As far as upcoming plans for my reviews, as I've stated before, I'm going to be taking a look at Zach Williams' first album. And then I'm not sure which artist is going to be coming up after that, but what I am going to do is I'm going to take some time and I'm probably going to be spending a little bit of time and focusing on just one artist at a time, because as much as I've been trying to keep things fresh and interesting by mixing up the artist, there's a lot of artists with a crap ton of albums out that I want to kind of try to put behind me a little bit so I can move on and include even more artists. But in order to do that, I need to get some of these other artists cleared and out of the way and everything. So whether that is people from the golden age or people that's a little bit more modern, whichever, I could very easily do both of Zach Williams' albums back to back. I'm not really sure. I want to look at For King and Country's latest album so I can knock them out. But I really also want to go back and I want to look at, your Chris Tomlins and Casting Crowns and etc. So, but that's kind of where I'm going. So whichever direction I go, it's going to be set to try to clear out some albums under a particular artist and then go ahead and move on to another one. But anyway, enough rambling out of me. Again, thank you guys very much for listening. Stay safe during this whole coronavirus crap, and I will end this, as always, by saying, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and as always, take care.